I'm sure you can probably hear the gardeners outside, but we're going to do another 3-yard quilt, and this one is going to be a zhuzhed up one as usual. But this should be a really fast one because I'm finally going to get to do the Checkmate pattern. It's a simple one, but I've been wanting to do it forever. And it's in the kids book, and I don't have the kids book, so I had to purchase this one. And what I liked about it is, of course, this 4 square. You guys know that I am a sucker for a 4 square block. I don't know why. I just am, guys. I just love them. And then the block is not even it's one large block. So we got one large block and then a bunch of 4 patches right here and then some borders. So I think the way that I'm going to cook this one up is this one here, our focal image, is going to be the big long blocks. And then the black here is going to be this border, and then the green will be just in between here. And I think that's going to work out for the fabrics to be 1, 2, and then 3. Let's see if I'm right. I am right. So this is going to be the fabric 1, this is going to be the fabric 2, and then this guy here is going to be the fabric 3. And these are just some beautiful red poppies. I am starting this quilt. Okay, it's about 10 a.m. We're going to see how long it takes me to cut it up and get all the pieces laid out, and then I'll check back in with you. So for my number 2 fabric, this is how much I have left over. I do the economy binding often, but my preference is to bind with a 2 1/4 inch strip, and I have just enough to get 2 1/4 inches from this strip. So I'm going to go on ahead and use this fabric up and finish it with the 2 1/4 so that I can bind the way that I really am most comfortable. It took me about 30 minutes to cut this quilt out. This is all that I have left. With the fabric 2, I miscut the binding strips. I said I wanted to do 2 1/4, and one of them I cut it 2 1/2. So instead of getting 6 binding strips, I have 5. But I think I'm going to be able to make it because I'm not going to join these crosswise. So I'm just going to butt them up the same way that you do for economy binding. And I think I'm going to make it. I'll tell you guys in a moment if I have to run out and grab an 1/8 more fabric. So here we go. This is what we need from fabric number 3. We've got the block fabric, we've got the border fabric, and then we have a partial strip. So when she says partial strip, this is what she means. You just cut down a little bit. You don't need the whole full strip. So that's fabric 3. For fabric 2, we have the tiny little binding, and then we have the same for the blocks. We have another partial strip here. This one should be cut down to 14 like that one, but this is just the excess. I used the other strip to cut down the 3 little, where are the 3 little guys? Oh, they're somewhere. There are 3 little squares. They're probably on the floor somewhere. Let's find them. Here are the cornerstones. There's 4 of them. They're not 3. There's 4 cornerstones here for the border. And then we have the blocks, the big blocks. Let's see how long this quilt takes me to actually put together. So we started at 10. I did a few emails. I walked around a little bit. It's about 10:49. So it took me about roughly 30 minutes, and I messed up stuff and all kinds of stuff. So it's a fast cutout. Let's see how the assembly goes. I'm assuming that the assembly is going to go really quickly. I'm going to assume that we're going to start with these 2 fabrics. I'm going to get rid of these. Boy, this is some really camouflaging kind of fabric here. I'm going to cut this one down to 14 inches, and then we can start sewing them together. So now we have this, and then here's the other matching short one, and then we have these 3, and we are going to sew them together, like I said, on the long side. So, boy, that's a good camouflage. There we go. And we'll just sew them together down the long side. So now that we've sewn them together, I'm going to put, I know that Donna says just press things open, because honestly, it really does make it quite a bit easier to explain on the pattern and whatnot, but this is a 4-patch, and it's just one 4-patch, and it doesn't need to be matched up very many times other than with itself. So I'm just going to press to the dark side. So the darkest fabric, which is that black fabric, is sitting on top. And I am just going to push this back and run my finger along it to be sure that it is fully open. And then we're just going to walk our iron down it. I'm just going to push it a little bit and hold it and push it and hold it and push it and hold, and I'm just going to do that down this entire strip. And then I'm just going to be sure that it's completely open. Then I might hit it with a little spray to get rid of this super harsh line. Lined up pretty good right there. This is just a little water. I'm just going to give it a little spray. And it disappeared just with that spray. And I'm going to give it a little massage. Just a little one. And then I'm going to hit it with this iron. Because it's dark fabric, I wasn't worried about scorching it. If it had been white, I might have rethought how fast I just did that, but we're good. And now I have a strip pressed and ready for piecing, or cutting and then piecing. So from our strips, we were able to get, from those long strips, we were able to get 9 out of the long ones and then 3 out of the little itty bitty ones. So now I'm just going to take them, and it looks like you need 10 4-patches across the top. That's wrong. You don't need 10 4-patches. You need 10 of these little blocks right here to go across each one. So I'm going to take this guy, and then we are going to flip it, and there we have our first 2. So I'm going to sew these together in sets of 2, and then we'll come back and sew this whole strip to that strip. So we're going to, I think I'm going to pin. They are pressed towards the dark, so luckily when we put them together, they will nest. So I will have seams going in either direction, and that's what we want. And then we'll just sew straight down. So I decided to just put a couple pins in, 2 pins, one at the end, one at the top, and then we are going to open this and see what we get. We want to be sure that it's matching up right here in the center, and this one is. It matters not which direction you press these seams. I mean, it just does not matter one iota. You could press it open to make it super flat, or you can press it to the side. It just doesn't matter. So let's do a whole bunch more of these. And you need to be careful with how you start this, because how you start it, meaning if the green is on the bottom and the black is on the top, you really want to be consistent with that, because it's very easy to get these turned around. So just be consistent with how you're doing it, okay? You want identical blocks. You don't want to make a boo-boo because for whatever reason it can happen, and then you end up like this, and you don't want that. So just be sure to make identical blocks. And then I'm going to do another two. I'm just going to put them together. I'm going to feel the seam nest, as they say. I pin toward the sewing line. I always have, because I keep a guard on my machine, and so it's easier to pull right before the needle. And we'll pin this, and we'll sew down this side. This just no rhyme or reason to it. We are just going to give it a press. It does not matter. They will nest when we sew them together on the sides, and then on the top it's going up against just a regular stripe. So there we are. We're going to do this. Let's see, there's 10 in each row, so we're going to do this a few more times. No biggie. If you want to see me do another one, we'll just grab it, throw it down, give it a little, just give it a little something here, give it a little heat to set the seams, as we say, and then just roll it back. Make sure you feel that the seam is not, that it's going away from you, and then just hold it down. And hold it down, and then I just give it a nice little swoosh, and bam, we have gorgeous 4 patches, and they are all the same. If we turn it properly, there we go. And this is the sewn seam. You can see here, these are the sewn seams, and they will nest again because the black is here, and so we'll just fold them together and keep going. All right. Okay, so we've got these. I'm just going to lay them out. Making sure they are all right. Okay. Now 12:40, and we've been cooking with gas. This is pretty cool. We've got this, and we've got this, and I need to give that a nice press and a shower with water to get that hard crease out the center. But we are going to sew them together, and we're going to do that for all of these panels. And then we're going to throw some borders on, and we can call this done. So this fabric is pretty much non-directional, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I went ahead and laid these strips out the way that they were cut, just to be sure. And it looks like we're good. However, I suggest, no matter what, if it's directional or non-directional, keep it in order and sew it this way, because I think it will just add some continuity to this pattern. So that's going to be a tip for this pattern. Okay, so now I have just placed them the way that I'm going to sew them, and now I'm going to pin a little bit down the side and be sure that they start and stop at the same place, and that will be that. Let's go. just for good measure, I'm going to fold the poppy panel in half and find the center mark, and then I know that the center mark is going to be 5 in. And then I'm going to pin that in the center and then just sew down. Be sure that you're sewing with the seams on the top so that you can make sure that they are laying flat and going into the sewing machine as you need them to. Now it's time to press this, and we could press on this side. However, if we were pressing this back, we would be stacking these on top of one another, and we really don't want to do that when we don't have to. Sometimes you have to, but in this case we don't. Let's take out this pin here. We are going to press it with the smooth side up, so that way when we roll it back, this is smooth on smooth, and we are reducing bulk where we can. And we're just going to So this is what all the panels look like sewn together. Now we're going to start working on the borders. For these border strips, we're just going to sew them end to end and then sew them to the sides of the fabric and the top of the fabric, creating its first border, and then we'll give it a nice press. So now, because I know the width of that top piece, I'm just going to go on ahead and make this the same length. I know what the length is because it was the very first cut that we did. So I'm going to just go on ahead and measure that out and do that twice for the top and bottom, and then I'm going to sew it on. Then I'm going to take an actual measurement because I don't want wavy borders today. Not that I ever do, but if you just sew it down the side, you can get wavy borders. And we don't have to do that today. This is a nice leisurely sew. So I'm just going to measure what I know the measurement should be and cut. And now I have one strip, and then we're going to do the second one and sew it on the top and the bottom, and then take a measurement of that whole side with the top and bottom sewn on, and then sew those on. So now the small green border has been sewn all around, and I've always liked the way that she does the cornerstones for hers. They come together pretty neat. In my imagination, they come together pretty neat. Pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is measure the length of this with this. This is the second border, and these two corners have just the green strip is on there. And then once I get the length of these guys together, I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to sew this block onto either end once I get the full width of this, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. And I've never really shown how these borders go together because by this point I'm cooking with gas and I just finish it up, but they come together really cool. So here I have the borders clipped so that I know which ones go where, because these are measured exactly to this side because my sides might not all match up properly. This here has not been sewn on yet. So we've got the first border sewn on. I've got this cut and ready, but I just have it clipped. And I'm going to sew on this border to this side right now. So this goes on first. The one over there will go on second, and then these go on last, and they should all match up because this has been measured specifically to the width here. Okay, so I'm going to sew on the sides, and then I will pin the cornerstones and then sew them, and then that'll be a quilt top in a day. Okay, I've sewn on the two side borders. Now I'm going to do the top and the bottom, and then this quilt really will be done. And I must say that taking the time to measure and fold it in half and pin it makes all the difference in the quality. This is going to be one square or rectangle quilt. It's coming out beautifully, way better than I thought. So I'm doing the first side border. So I folded the quilt in half and the border in half, and I've got them pinned right there in the halfway mark. Now I'm going to go over here down yonder, and we are going to pin again right here. And these seams are nesting because I made sure that they were going in opposite directions when I pressed it. And we're definitely going to put a pin right there because we want that to look good. And now we can put another pin here. Oh, these strings are just terrible. I will clean all that up after I'm done, when I give it a good press. And I'm going to just make sure that this is lined up nice and taut. And I'm going to put another pin right here for good measure. Then I'm going to slide on down here and make sure to pin this. It's not at this first intersection, but the second one. Don't get confused. Not at this, not right here, but over here is where we are going to pinch and feel and pin. And then we are going to make sure that it's all nice and lined up here and feel our way. And just plop another pin here and make sure that we don't have any gaps and it's not loose and we're good. And we're going to sew that down that side. And there it is, beautifully laying flat, excellently executed, and ready to go to the quilters. Quilts in a day. So this quilt has been completed, and when I say completed, I mean completed. I've actually fully bound it and everything. It looks good. This is a really cool pattern. I'm very, very excited that I got a chance to actually use it. The quilter put some leaves in there for me. The binding looks good. Now it is time for the fun part. Now this is after this has been quilted. I went to the bead factory, also known as Bohemian Crystal, and grabbed some crystals. These are high quality Australian crystals, and I'm getting ready to embellish them on top. Now I'm going to do it two different ways. There are some, if you can see, that have this silver back, and there's some that have that gold. These here are hot fix. This was the only color it came in, which isn't a problem because I love to hot fix. Hot fix is great when you say you go to a friend's house and you want to work on this. Hot fix is probably the way to go. E6000 will also work. I have a test where I used E6000 to glue on some rhinestones, and I used hot fix, and they both stayed through like 6 or 7 hot washes. There would have been more, but I did not continue to go. I didn't have any problem with them falling off. So it just depends upon how you're going to move. E6000, you've got to let it dry. It's a wet glue. It is super cool in this pack right here. And it's got these tiny tips for you, and it's got a cap so that you can cap it. I find that when I use one of these tips, I need to kind of finish the day with that tip and then take it off and then toss it. I did my entire Phantasmic quilt. Well, no, I used hot fix. I did a combination in that quilt too. But I've only used about half of this, maybe a little bit more than half, on the Phantasmic quilt, which was also a mix of hot fix and wet. So if you're going to be moving this around and if it's not going to be able to just lay out and dry, I would suggest doing hot fix. Hot fix, you're going to stop and hold it for a few seconds. I'll actually show you guys that in a few moments. But first I'm going to grab a paper towel. I like to have a paper towel around because if you've ever used E6000, when you open it, it immediately starts to just come out and ooze, and so you really want to be able to stop it. And so I keep a paper towel around. When I use my hot fix, I do the hot fix rhinestone applicator set off of Amazon. I love this set so much, guys. The tool works incredibly well. The crystals are not the same quality as the super high-end crystals. They're just not. But they do sparkle. It's not the same, but they definitely get a sparkle going. So I'm just going to grab a couple of the tools from here, and I'm going to work on the wet ones first. I should probably work on the ones that are going to dry faster first, and then the wet ones. Now let's just go on ahead and do the wet ones first. No worries. So out of this, I'm grabbing the wax pencil. You can also buy one of these by itself. And I'm going to grab the glue, and we're going to switch out the top really quickly. And it's just a screw top. It's nothing major. It comes with this top on by itself. You can open it up and just switch it out and just screw this on. Kind of like when you're in the hospital and they're screwing that syringe top on. You ever seen them screw the IV thing in? And that's how it looks. And then if I give it a little squeeze, it will start to come out. So I have grabbed a combination of crystals. We have some light cyan. I think this is light cyan. We have a, I forget the names of the colors. A clear, we've got a red orange, we've got a green. And I am just going to go ham on this. I'm going to start at the very bottom. I should start at the top. Let's start at the top, and then I will work my way down. Change my mind. We're going to hot fix first. I have my wool pressing mat underneath this quilt. I have just taken the fern green off, and I am going to put some in this little tray. Again, this kit comes with everything you need, including crystals. It's just the quality of the crystals is a little different than these extremely high quality Australian crystals. So I believe the size of these is either 16 or 20. So you have a bunch of these little tips that you screw into your tool, and I just need to be sure to grab the one that fits. Again, there's a bunch of them in here. There's even some flat ones so that you can do different faceted stones. So this is the size 20 little knob here, and I like to use size 16 and 20 mostly, with a few 30s when you really need to, but I find that they just look the best on quilt work, in my opinion. This does not take a long time to heat up, so I'm going to plug it in over here, and it comes with a protective sheet and a little rest for your tool. And when your stones just flip over, you just give them a little shaky shake, and you'll be able to start going. Again, I have a wool pressing mat underneath here, and I'm just going to put this is the green. Where I see green, I'm just going to put it. No true rhyme or reason, maybe at the tips of the leaves, at the tips of this bulb here, but nothing super duper intricate or crazy. And I like to hold mine on for, I think I count to 15 most of the time. So yes, I sit here and hold it for 10 to 15 seconds, move it 10 to 15 seconds, and that's just how I work. I could do this all day. It's like diamond dot painting. I quite enjoy it. It is definitely faster to do the E6000, because with the E6000, I just hit, and I count 10 drops usually, or increments of 10. So I'll go 5 places and then put 5 jewels down, or I'll do 10 places and put 10 jewels down. So that way you don't have random spots of glue and work one area at a time. so that you don't have random spots of glue without stones on them, because you will be able to kind of see it just a little bit. So I work in increments of 5. Maybe I'll do 5 dots, but I'll show you guys that in just a moment. We're going to wait for this to get hot. Did I even turn on the switch? Turn on the switch. And we'll give it a few seconds to warm up. It doesn't take a long time. So now I am going to just start. I'm using the wax tool to pick up a stone, and you just drop it down. It's just that simple. You can kind of scoot it over. And then you just grab it straight up. I'm going to hold it for 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, so it's been about 15 seconds, and then I just lift it off. Don't touch that. That is hot. That is oh so hot. So then I'll just grab another one. And you can put down a couple. Do whatever you feel. You know, this is your world. And just put down some and play with them and flick them and flip them over and that kind of stuff. And have a good time with it. Don't take it too seriously. Just plop them where you think they should go. And try to remember where you put them. Try to remember which ones are loose. And you're just gonna put a few of these down everywhere. And then just go back through and just hold them. Straight up and down. 15 seconds, and then move to the next one. Okay, so now we are going to move on to actually rhinestoning with the E6000. The only ones that I bought in Hot Fix, and the reason why I did it was because I wanted to show you guys, 1, and 2, this was the only one they had the color in. That color looks so beautiful. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but boy, does that look beautiful. I'm excited about this, but I can't do as many as I did because I just didn't buy that many. So I can't do as many as I did on the Lion King panel. All right, so let's grab the reds. So I put the tip on, and now I am just going to squeeze this till I see the glue coming out into the tip, which I don't see. Okay, I had to do a little unclogging and whatnot, but I've got it. And so here we go. Nice and simple. You just put the dab down, usually not that large, and then I scrape the tip on the fabric to get rid of all of those little boogies. Scrape the tip, scrape the tip, and I am just using the lighter color on the edges here. No rhyme or reason, and that's 5 right there. And then I hold the tip in my hand, holding it down, squeezing it so that it doesn't just ooze out, because this stuff will indeed ooze out. Now I'm going to grab my wax pen here, pick up a stone, push it down. Pick up a stone, push it down. And it's just that simple. And like I said, I could do this for hours, guys. I love this. It's relaxing. I put it on my ironing board and work that way. And I just go. I love it. Now they won't be sliding all around. However, right now they're pretty wet, and so they will move, but not just, they're not stuck down permanently, but they are on there pretty good, so you can move this around a little bit. It's when you start folding it over on itself and brushing up against it where you will notice that the stone is not where you left it. I like to leave these out for 24 hours before doing anything with them. After 24 hours they are stuck on and probably not coming off. 48 hours they are fully cured. Alright, so those are your 2 options for putting rhinestones on your quilts. Hope you enjoyed it.